Express the following in terms of I. So this negative sign needs to come out front, so it's going to be 8. You can't take the square root of the negative side. I, then the square root of 84. Now you need to determine what is the highest perfect square that divides into 84. And if you've forgotten what perfect squares are, 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4, 5, and so on. So I want to figure out what is the largest number that goes into 84. So I'm just going to start trying numbers. I'm going to divide by 4. I can see 4 works. I'll try 16 to see if 16 works. 16 does not. I believe 4 is probably the largest one when I look at 21 here. So I'm going to break this down into square root of 4 and the square root of 21, keeping the I in front. The square root of 4 is 2. 8 times 2 is 16, followed by the I times 21. So the correct answer is D as in dog. How did I get the 21? So I took 84 and I started with the perfect squares to figure out what perfect square when I divide 84 by that number gives you an even answer. So at 84, I know dividing by 1 is not going to reduce it, so I divide by 4. I got 21. I could try 9. It doesn't give you a nice even answer. Could try 16. Doesn't give you a nice answer. 25 won't give you a nice even answer. Do you see how I'm doing this? Yeah. Okay. So I'm doing it until I find a nice even answer, which happened to be 4 works, and it gives you an answer of 21. Okay? So let's go on right now to the next problem. So as a reminder, I know I squared is equal to -1. I to the third is going to be -1i. I to the fourth is +1. I to the fifth is +1i. And it continues that pattern. So this will be used for the next 2 problems. So I'm going off to the side here. I have a -1 out front. That's the same as a negative sign. So let's write a -1. I'm going to take I to the 8th. And I'm going to evaluate what is I to the 8th. And then I'm going to take it times the square root of 9, which is equal to 3. So let's figure out what I to the 8th is. For those that have been in my class, put 5 fingers up, please. Okay, so there's your first finger down, I. Here's I to the first, to the second, to the third, to the fourth. Going back up, keeping your thumb down to the 5th, to the 6th. Did I count wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's a third number in the sequence. The third number in the sequence gives you an answer of +1. Multiply -1 times 1 times 3 gives you an answer of -3. Come off to the side. Correct answer for the second problem in this standard is C. Okay, we're going to do this problem the same. I'll do the work down here. This negative sign is the same as -1. I'm going to evaluate I to the 18th, and then I'm going to break down the square root of -1600. That's going to go into this position. Well, let's figure out what I to the 18th is. Okay, you ready? So first thumb down. Everybody practice, please. We're going to figure out what number in the sequence of 4 this is. So we have 1. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5. Back up, keeping the thumb down. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It's the first number in the sequence, which is equal to -1. So put -1 here. This negative comes from here. This is the evaluation of I to the 18th. Now you can't take the square root of a negative, so the negative comes out front and becomes an I. And now I need to break down the square root of 1600. Well, let's figure out, is 1600 a nice perfect square? So can everybody do second square root, type in 1600 and press enter. Square root of 1600 is 40. So this is equivalent to 40. -1 times -1 is 1. 1 times 40 is 40. And you have this additional I. So 40I is your answer. Correct option is B as in ball. The easiest way to simplify the next expression is to plug it into your calculator. I'll let you do that right now. As a reminder, the I can be found below the 2, but you do have to hit the second key first. I have negative 91, subtract 79i. Correct answer is A. All right, so yes, we could use the calculator to do this, but I think that partially we can do this by doing just simply solving with methods that you can do pretty quickly. So if I told you to solve this, we're going to move 69 to the opposite side. When a positive 69 moves over, it becomes negative 169. Then I'm going to divide both by 36. As a reminder, this tells you you're going to have two solutions. The two solutions are represented by a plus and minus sign. But you can't take the square root of a negative, so the negative comes out front and becomes an I. And now I need to figure out what is the square root of 169 and what is the square root of 36. I know the square root of 36 is 6, that's in the denominator. And if you did not know that the square root of 169 was 13, you can try. Bless you. You could type in right now 169 divided by 36. You'll get a decimal answer. Turn it back into a fraction by hitting math, fraction, enter, enter. So 13 over 6 is your fraction. Has to have a plus and minus sign and an I. So I'm looking for the correct answer, and it appears to be option C. Okay, you ready? You're going to race me. You're doing the next problem. 36x squared plus 25 equals 0. I'm going to give you a 10-second head start. Ready? Go. Does anyone have questions how I was able to get the answer positive or negative 5/6 I? Okay, please do the next one. Go ahead. I'm going to show my work in here. Now this one is a little bit trickier. If you look up here, this is a little trickier, and here's why. You've been taught not to leave your final answer with a radical in the denominator, but here we can see an answer that has that. So the negative comes outside and becomes an I. We know the square root of 81 is 9. The square root of 11 is not a nice answer. It's irrational. So we leave it on the bottom just as the square root of 11. The correct answer for this is option C. Which of the following lists all the roots of x to the fourth plus 4? If I told you to graph this, remember all terms would have to be on the same side. So when the 4 moves over, it becomes negative. So x to the fourth minus 4 equals 0. Please do second plus 712. Second plus 712. Then type in x to the fourth minus 4, and we'll graph it. So how many roots do you guys see here? You see 2. What type of a root is this? Is it odd or even? So if it's odd, how many roots actually exist then? 1 root here and 1 root here. So you see a total of how many real? So look up here. There's going to be 4. There's going to be 4. It means 2 will be real, and the remaining 2 will be imaginary or complex. So let's figure out the real ones. I'm looking at my options, and it looks like square root of 2 may be an option, a valuable option. So let's do second trace value. Let's type in the square root of 2 to determine, is that an answer? So is the square root of 2 an option? Okay, so I know square root of 2 I want. So this only has the square root of 2, positive, negative. And I think the negative one will also be an option. So second, trace value. Let's type in negative square root of 2. Is that also a root? So I know that the two reals will be the square root of 2 and negative square roots of 2. But that only accounts for 2 of the 4. So this does not include the imaginary. And this does not include the real. So let's look over here. This has positive and negative square roots of 2, which I know is an option. This does not include the positive and negative square root of 2. So here is your option. Option C. We're able to determine that by simply canceling out the other 3 options. Can you flip to the back? Is there more problems in the back of that paper?